Happy Tuesday, guys, and welcome to the channel. My name is Hart. For those of you that are new, I'm going to be breaking down this three-game NBA slate for Tuesday night here on DraftKings, doing a game-by-game breakdown, as well as talking through some of my favorite early look core plays. I'll have updated core plays and price pick plays on my Patreon link down below that you can check out. Also, yeah, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. If we get 30 likes in this video, that'd be huge. Do greatly appreciate all the support recently on these videos. And now let's get into this game breakdown. Before we get into breakdown, just want to say make sure to follow me on Twitter at HartDFS. And then a quick little lineup review. I went with Lowry, Connaughton, Strus, Butler, Giannis, Reeves, Santi, and Brook Lopez. I talked about in my breakdown video from yesterday on YouTube in the morning how I really wanted to prioritize Jimmy, Giannis, Reeves, and Chris Middleton. Obviously, as we saw in the video, I talked about that it's really hard to get people, fit all those guys in and then get two other guys you like because it left us like 4,800 left over. So I paid down off of Chris Middleton to get to Brook Lopez, and then paid down for Lowry, Connaughton, and Strus, and of course, Strus is only 15% owned. Fantastic play there, 15% minus one fancy point. I don't have words. Like I could go on the. I was thinking about it so much that I could go like on an hour long tilt about how unlucky this play is right here. The Strus 15% minus one because all the other value plays smash. All the other value plays on this slate smash besides Strus. Every other single value play, like 4,500 and less, went for 20 plus. Connaughton, Martin, Schroeder, Vanderbilt, every single one besides Strus. So I'm going to save it. I'm not going to tilt. It's just extremely frustrating. I was in the top 10 of this tournament all the way up until the last 5 minutes of the Lakers game. There, the last game of the night, I was in the top 10, winning like $70. Had a chance. I don't know if I could have won it, but I could have got like top four maybe. And then I check again after the game. I saw it went into overtime, and I fell all the way from 10th place, halfway through the fourth quarter to 116th place. It's just frustrating stuff, man. But yeah, I talked about those core plays. Three of the four core plays were fantastic. I think Chris Milton got 35, which was not like fantastic, but still, if you would have got to him, it would have worked out. So the core plays were great yesterday. Looking to continue that into tonight. So the first game we have here is Atlanta versus Boston. Obviously, the big news here is that DeJounte Murray is now out, suspended for one game for kind of headbutting or bumping, whatever you want to call it. The ref talking crap. So with him out, I think most likely they will start. I would assume Bogdanovich there. That's kind of what they've done all season is start Bogdanovich for whether it's Trae Young out or Dejounte Murray out. Now I guess they could go a different route and start Bay. So whoever starts, I like a lot, and then whoever comes off the bench of like those two wings and guards, I like a lot. So Trae Young. I mean, we know the upside with Trae Young as we saw the past two games, 58 and 68. Now they lost both, but they've kept both close, and he's playing close to 40 minutes. 37 and 41. He shot it okay. He's been more aggressive. He's got a ton of assists, so it's like we know the upside there with Trey, and it's like he's coming in at a pretty solid ownership. It's been pretty low the past two games, so I don't mind him here in this spot. Dejounte out, obviously. Hunter's coming off a huge game. It's one of those things like he does have upside if he's going to play 40 minutes. Now he is scoring dependent at times. As we saw last game, he was super scoring independent, but he couldn't miss a shot. So he got you there. He got 43. The game before that, only 14 and a half in 35 minutes because he couldn't hit a shot. And then the game before that, 8 of 19, shot it pretty well, went for a double double. So it's like he's kind of had some outlier games, but that's kind of the ceiling he has. If he's going to be playing close to 40 minutes now, I do have interest in him there at 5,400. Clint Capella's fallen all the way down to 5K. I don't mind taking a dart throw on him today. Like he did see 30 minutes, which is nice to see. Obviously, Okongwu was dealing with some foul trouble, but we know he has double upside, and he can go for 35 plus. So at 5,000, I think he's firmly in play. So a lot of these Hawks look way too cheap. Obviously, there is some blowout risk. I think the point spread right now is 13, so that's pretty high, the highest on the slate. So there is definitely huge blowout risk here in this game. But all these Atlanta Hawkeyes are cheap. Like Bogdanovich, really not hard not to like him, especially if he starts. Now, if he comes off the bench, I guess he's not as good of a play, but he's still a very solid play there. He should be in line to see at least 30 minutes, if not more. So I like him a lot right now. He's a super popular play across the board for obvious reasons. John Collins, I think he's a very solid contrarian play. I mean, his minutes have been all over the place. He's been god awful. He's shot like 4, 9 of like 35 in this series, and he's been terrible. But he comes in at a price tag where it's like you can get him in there. You don't feel great about it, but if he has a solid shooting night, he can go for 25, 30 plus, and it'd really help you out. He'd be very, very low owned. Okongwu, kind of the same thing. He should be playing around 23 or 22, like 25 minutes. We know his upside. It's just can he stay out of foul trouble? So I think he looks like a fine play. Sadiq Bey, as I mentioned, maybe he gets the spot start for um, Murray, or maybe he comes off the bench. He should be in line for more minutes now. I'd say around 25, if not more. He becomes a very solid value play. And then Jalen Johnson, another one of those guys who's kind of more of a high energy guy. Minutes are kind of over the board, but if he gets 13 to 15 minutes, he can easily get you there. He's kind of one of those guys that can get very, very hot and productive in the few amount of minutes he's out there. So yeah, a lot to like here for the Atlanta side. Obviously, Bogdanovich looks the best, but I think everyone is basically in play, even John Collins with how bad he's been. On the Boston side here, Tatum looks fantastic at 10K. Really like Jalen Brown. I mean, I've been hammering down on Jalen Brown, and he's been having his worst career games ever. 18, 15, 33, 25. Finally, he had a normal game there. He really picked it up in the second half. 41. He finally took off the mask, and he shot it really well without the mask. So I don't mind running it back here with Jalen Brown. Obviously, it's a fantastic matchup. He's coming in at his cheapest price tag he's been all season in a matchup against Atlanta. It makes no sense. I don't know how the people have been getting away with it, but I love Jalen Brown. Once again, it's hard to pass up on that price tag. His production. So yeah, I just love his price tag there. It looks fantastic in this matchup. I'm not really sure how people have been getting away with fading him. He's been pretty much I think he was 18% here. I think he was 14% or 10% here. And he was literally 8%, I think, on this game here against Atlanta in the last game. It makes no sense. No sense how he's been so low owned and he's been minimum price. It's literally coming in at his lowest price all season. There's my Jalen Brown rant, but yeah, love him. I think it's one of those things. Boston looks great as well. Atlanta, all of the guys look great. Boston, all the guys look great. Derek White, obviously coming ahead, kind of had 2 letdown games, which is nice to see because he was massive chalk there, 85% owned, and he went for 45. It made no sense. But yeah, 6,200. I think he's a fair play. Same thing with Marcus Smart. He's been a lot more aggressive recently, so I do like him at good amounts. But we know there is some downside of the Smart. Sometimes he is not aggressive and will become more of a passer. But this series, it kind of seems like everyone's going to be shooting the ball a ton and kind of spreading out the offense from Tatum and Brown. So it definitely makes Voigt and Smart valuable plays there. Robert Williams finally had the huge game there. I've played him, I think, 3 out of the past 4 games. Did not play him the last game. Of course, he goes for 44. I talked about he has that upside, and that's what we want to capture, and he hit it last game. So I don't mind going to him. It's just one of those things. If he's going to be super chalky, I'd rather get to the other guys on the team, like a Brogdon, who has similar upside. His minutes a little bit more consistent. I think he looks pretty solid. Al Horford looks solid. He only shot 2 times. This is kind of the downside with Horford is that he'll go on these streaks where he's just not involved in the offense. He's just kind of out there to move the ball around, get some rebounds, get some assists. So yeah, I mean, right now with him not shooting, it's hard to trust him, but I think he's still a fair play there at 5,100, and that's about it. Moving on to Minnesota. On the Minnesota side, obviously it's hard to get away from Anthony Edwards. He's been fantastic, leading scorer in the playoffs right now. So, I mean, he's playing huge minutes. This game went into overtime, so he's about 39 to 40 minutes in regular time. As we saw before, that 42 and 44. So he's playing massive amount of minutes. So it's hard not to get to him, even though there is blowout risk in this game. Towns has been awful. I think he's still a fine play, but he's just been terrible. He's just not been good. So it's hard to really trust him, but he's coming in at a very solid price tag. Gobert's been playing huge minutes. I forgot to mention the big news here is Kyle Anderson's out with the eye injury. So that's massive news because those minutes off the bench will probably just get spread out to NAW, Prince. And they did bring in Rivers a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see if he plays some more. But yeah, it'll probably just spread those minutes out to the starters, give them all a few more minutes each, as well as the guys off the bench. So not like anyone gets a huge production increase. It's just more they spread out the minutes. But yeah, Gobert, he's been seeing huge minutes if he's staying out of foul trouble. 39, 32, he fouled out, but then 39. So it's like if he's going to stay out of foul trouble, it looks like he's going to be playing close to 40 minutes. So I think you also got to factor in that game went into overtime. So he did play a few more extra minutes, but I think we expect around 35 minutes for Gobert, which makes him a decent play there at his price tag. Conley, he's playing massive minutes, so I think his minutes are up once again. I think he's a fair play at 5,800, just with him playing close to 40 minutes a game. NAW, Prince, Rivers, all fine value plays. Obviously, NAW and Prince, their minutes are a guaranteed. Like they will get at least 15 plus. Rivers is obviously that dart throw. They went to McLaughlin and Noel, and both of them were god awful off the bench. And so they went to Rivers. So I think they do that again. I think they rely on Rivers. You can take an absolute dart throw on him, but NAW and Prince will be fine value plays. But yeah, there's a lot to like here because they will run, this 6/7 man rotation into the ground with Minnesota here. So a lot to like there for Minnesota. On the Denver side, one of those things where it's kind of the same breakdown every time. Jokic's price went up to 10.8, so it's going to be a little bit hard to get up to him, but he was great last game. I talked about I expected him to have like a 70, 80 point game, and he finally did. So that was nice. Murray, I think it's easier to get to, obviously, because of the price tag, and he's been great. Even in a poor shooting game here, 8 of 21, still went for 34 fantasy points. Went for no steals, which he usually gets like 1 or 2 a game. So I like him a good amount, 8,200. Jokic looks great if you want to pay up for him and you feel good at the value. And then these guys like MPJ, Gordon, Bruce Brown, as I mentioned, you can always land on them, but they're more like filler plays. Like MPJ has been a little bit more productive recently than he usually is, which I guess it's fair to land on him. Aaron Gordon's kind of been, consistent in the mid 20s, fantasy point range. So that's really it. Not a lot to really like here in this range. They all kind of seem priced about right. So they're kind of more just filler plays there. Moving on to the last game here, we got the Clippers versus Phoenix, another game where there is blowout risk. Russell Westbrook has been playing out of his mind. I don't know if he can keep this up. I mean, he's been shooting basically 55% or better the past 3 games, 28, 30, 37. If you think that continues, it's hard not to get to him at 9,300. I mean, he's going to be playing 40 minutes. He's shooting close to 30 times a game, and he's just been, super productive. He's scoring, he's getting assists, he's getting rebounds. So if you think that continues to happen, it's hard not to really like him and really like Anthony Edwards on the slate. I prefer getting to Anthony Edwards just because he's a better scorer, slightly worse at getting rebounds and assists, but he's still up there with Russ. Anthony Edwards has been averaging like multiple steals and blocks a game, so I think I slightly prefer him. But yeah, Russ, if you trust that production, I'd say he looks like a very, 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 very solid play. I don't, so I'm personally not going to get to him. I think finally we see a game where Phoenix, like the Suns come out super hot and they kind of blow out the Clippers here. And I think it's 3-1, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe it's just a closeout game. They just blow them out. So yeah, I mean, the Clippers guys, Powell and Russ look great. It's just, I just personally find it hard to trust them. But on the DFS side, like Powell and Russ are great plays just because of the amount of minutes and amount of usage they both have. So they're definitely both in play. Eric Gordon's playing the minutes about 30, a little bit over 30 a game. It's just he's not super productive. It's really just everything's going through Powell and Westbrook, but I guess he's worth a mention. Same thing with Zubac, but the minutes have been down recently, so it looks like they're not going to continue going to him. Terrence Mann, he's seen about 30 minutes now. I guess he's a fine play there, 4,700. Don't mind him. You just don't feel great about it. Bones Highland's always worth a GPP dart throw, especially if Russ and Powell are struggling to shoot. They're going to need some offense off the bench. Bones Highland will be aggressive. So I think he's worth a risky dart throw play there. Morris playing mid-20s minutes. I guess you can go to him. He's 4,100, but he's been god-awful. I think Plumlee would be my favorite play. He's super productive. His minutes are trending up a little bit. They're not going back to Zubac. They've been riding with Plumlee. So I think he's worth a look there at 3,800. He's definitely still risky, but he's definitely worth a look. And that does it for the Clippers. On the Phoenix side here, I like Durant, I like Booker, I like Paul, I like Ayton. It's just like, can this game stay close? I think Paul might be my favorite. He's been the most consistent. He's playing huge minutes. He's averaging 35 plus fantasy points right now in the past 3 games. So I like him. Durant, he doesn't have enough of the ceiling. They've been double teaming him every play, so it's hard to get to him and trust his production. But yeah, all 4 look great. It's just they're all kind of there. Torrey Craig, a fine play in the mid range. And that's really it. Okogie's gotten some minutes. I guess you can take a dart throw on him, especially if the game blows out. He'll see some more. But yeah, that's about it. So right now, liking these 3 guys a lot. If I had to get to a 4th player here, I think right now I'm going to throw into Jamal Murray. Obviously, these are the 5K left over. There are some risky options we can go to on this board today for some value. So it makes sense. It's a little bit easier to get to those plays today than it was yesterday. So right now, really liking Murray, Brown, Edwards, and Bogdanovich. And then I will just have updated plays on my Patreon link down below. So make sure to hit that like button. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.